This is the Healthy Business Podcast, the show for ambitious business owners who want to grow and scale in a healthy way. I'm Sarah Cook, and I'll be sharing with you tips, inspiration, and proven methods from leading business experts, entrepreneurs, and health and wellness professionals to help you grow your business with more income and having more impact, but in a way that works for you. Because when you have clarity and strategy, you can achieve the results you want. Hello and welcome to the Healthy Business Podcast. I have the amazing Karen Baines joining me today, and I'm really excited to be chatting to her. Karen is a conscious wealth mentor who for the past 8 years has worked with passionate, ambitious entrepreneurs and showing them how to master their own creational process, particularly around business and finances. So I know this is going to be an amazing conversation that we're going to have to Karen. So thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you for inviting me, Sarah. It's such a treat.
Oh, it's always lovely to have chats with people in real life almost, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
As close to real life as many of us can get. So one of the questions that I love to start with before we delve into you is, what does a healthy business mean for you?
A healthy business for me equals a healthy bank account. That's really the main thing. But what that actually represents for me, as I think with most entrepreneurs, and certainly the ones that I tend to work with and the ones that find me, the desire is freedom. So time freedom, financial freedom. That is what it means to me. Being able to make choices and do what you want to do when you want to do it. That's what a healthy business means for me.
I love that. It's so true. And freedom is that word that comes up for many people, doesn't it? And one of the reasons that people do set up their own businesses, I think, is that they want that freedom to choose. They want that flexibility and all those wonderful things that come with being an entrepreneur and a business owner. Yeah. Couldn't agree any more with that. It has to be that mix as well of actually having money coming in. It has to be a profitable business. Otherwise, it's not really a business. It becomes a very expensive hobby if we don't have that money coming in.
It can actually like a money monster. An unhealthy business can actually become a money monster. So yeah, you don't really want to be there.
No, not at all. And I think it's hard, isn't it? For, when people are growing and they're investing in themselves and we feel like money is going out, it's also important to look at those profits and making sure that we've got the money being attracted back into us in the right way. And I know that's something that you're super passionate about and something that you work with a lot of women on as well. Well, and men as well. We work across, don't you?
Yes, I do.
So tell us a little bit, what conscious wealth mentor, it's a big title and I love it. What does that kind of include?
Well,
I'm not sure what that means.
The conscious wealth mentor, that title, I love that you think it's a big title, because I'm like, maybe I need a big title because I'm such a small human. I'm only 4 foot. I'm only 4'9", so everything has to be really big in my world. But the conscious wealth mentor title actually evolved itself. It was originally, I was originally sort of like, I don't even think I had a title. I couldn't settle on one that felt right. So I was just a coach, and then like abundance coach, and then everybody was an abundance coach and everyone was a money coach. And I never really felt it, which didn't matter for me, because I'm not somebody that you're going to see widely visible across the board. So that didn't matter. Conscious creation coach emerged at some point when I started to, when my modality, I guess, started to emerge, like being I used to talk about, if you're a conscious creator, which basically means making conscious choices to be a vibrational match for a conscious consequence, essentially. So the conscious creation process is what I was talking about a lot. And so then it was conscious creation coach. And then over the last few years, my work evolved into a modality, really without me even realizing it, Sarah. One day I was just doing the work and I realized that I actually had my own framework, my own creation. And within about 6 months of realizing that, the name Conscious Wealth Code kind of just dropped in, literally. Summer, not this year, but previous year, I remember waking up at 6 a.m. one morning with this name, Conscious Wealth Code, ringing in my ears. And I immediately leapt out of bed, because I'm like, I've heard of that. You know, it can't be available. So I'm Googling and searching and checking to see if anyone's got the Google, the websites and everything. And it was available, and I just couldn't believe it. So my work became the Conscious Wealth Code, and Conscious Wealth Mentor just went from there.
It's perfectly from it.
Yeah. It kind of just evolved from there. I don't really see myself as a coach, because I do coach. I absolutely do coach, but I also do a lot of teaching. So I kind of find that the mentor just felt right after. I mean, I've been doing this, as you say, I've been doing this a lot of years now, and I'm lucky, because I am frequently told that nobody does money the way you do money. So it kind of feels like, going from coach to mentor, it was part of owning my work, I think.
No, that totally makes sense. And I love that phrase, no one does money like you. Like, that's amazing, isn't it?
It does feel pretty good. Yeah. The only problem is I don't know it to be 100% true, because I'm not out there. So I don't really, but it is something that I hear frequently. So I just I trust the big U is just like downloading, it's just giving me confirmation that, I'm on track. I know what I'm doing.
I want to touch on the visibility piece later on, because I know business owners do find that tricky when we're talking about marketing side of things. But before we get into that, no one does money like you. How do you do money? Let's talk about that. Money is one of those things that I know a lot of people do struggle talking about and find it, uncomfortable. And we're taught from a really young age about, different thought processes around money. And it's really interesting, I think, that we've all got different experiences of money. So I'd love to kind of hear what you think about money, and we'll kind of explore that. And, with the energy and alignment, that is obviously a huge thing for you as well. So yeah, I'm excited to kind of talk about this a bit more.
Okay. Well, you mentioned the magic word, alignment. And that's what really happens with my work. So one of the phrases I'm well known for saying is, money is a happy byproduct of alignment. So if you're in alignment, the natural byproduct of alignment is money. Especially for entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs are designed in a certain way. We are designed to run businesses, but we are designed to run businesses in such a way that we add value to the lives of other people through our gifts. And we do that in exchange for money. So when abundance looks like money for somebody, then it's going to be the natural byproduct of them, that person vibrating at the highest frequency that is available to them. It's almost like, if you like, I'm not no scientist at all, so forgive me here, but what I do know from my time in school was that everything is molecules vibrating. And everything is energy, and everything is molecules vibrating. And for example, this pen is just molecules vibrating, so it makes a pen. Well, money is the tangible evidence of your vibration. So when you're vibrating, if you're in alignment, when you're in alignment, you tangibly create the byproduct of money. So that's the basis of where money is a happy byproduct of alignment. You can switch the word money out for anything that you desire. I mean, for entrepreneurs, it's money or clients or leads. or a great offer or a product or whatever.
So
for other people, it could be a relationship, like your ideal relationship, your ideal guy or girl, your, perfect, like great, really great, perfect health. Everything that you would desire is actually a happy byproduct of your alignment. It just so happens that I work in finance and business. So the code, as it were, the conscious wealth code, what I've been able to do, because I've got like a history in finance, so I've always been interested. I used to have my own bookkeeping business, so I've always been very interested in wealth creation and money and how it all works. And what I've realized through experience and over the years that I've been working with clients and with their money and their businesses, is that if you can, although you can't compartmentalize energy, humans are actually very good at compartmentalizing. It's how we organize things. So what I found was there are three commodities of alignment. And if you break those three commodities, which are money, time, and you, if you break those down and compartmentalize them and focus on certain things and, like, what I call move the needle of alignment in each of those separate commodity containers, then you move your whole self. You move energetically, you move your whole self, so that you're vibrating at a higher frequency, so that you make more money. And it's sustainable, and it's you doing your gift, so it doesn't suck. That's the point.
That's the important
thing, the money monster doesn't happen. You're the boss of your business versus the business being the boss of you. And it's very easy for entrepreneurs, especially like in our industry, who are designed to, as I say, add value to the lives of other people through their gifts in service. Coaches and healers predominantly are, they're givers. We want to give, we want to help, we want to serve. It's how we're designed. But the problem is we often don't understand that it's not like having a bar of chocolate. If I've got a bar of chocolate and I want to share with you a piece of chocolate, I can, because I've got a bar of chocolate. With energy, it's a bit different. And if you share your energy, you give away your energy when you don't actually have the energy to give away, when you're over-giving, people-pleasing, when you've got wishy-washy boundaries, that will manifest in your bank account as less than, because you're operating from a place of less than. And the other fabulous thing that I've learned is, that I teach my clients as well, is that the universe responds to how you treat time and how you treat money in exactly the same way. It doesn't see any difference between the two. So with the code, although I'm able to help people focus on where they need to focus and get what I call the biggest bang for their buck from an energetic perspective, so hopefully start making money and move that needle immediately out of the gate by kind of honing in and finding where they're most misaligned and where they can, take one or two small steps that's going to really get things moving for them. Although that is the case, by moving the needle of alignment with all the commodities, you're able to, what I call, leverage the law, because you can't compartmentalize energy, because the universe doesn't compartmentalize energy. So if you're in a situation where you're completely overwhelmed in your business because you're working 50, 60 hours a week to make sure that you get the bills paid, that can be a really scary place to be. And oftentimes it's too much of a stretch for a client to focus there and make immediate changes. But what you can always do is leverage the law by maybe looking at one of the other commodities, like, you are the most powerful commodity that you have. You can't get away from you. So looking at how we can move the needle of alignment within the relationship with yourself and your relationship with other people, so that the universe can respond to you with yes in a new way, because the universe just responds with yes. And unfortunately, if you're inviting my not so fab 4 dysfunctional family to your party, which are obligation, sacrifice, resentment, and guilt, the universe just responds to those energetic frequencies of obligation and the other 3 with yes, and brings you more opportunities to do obligation, which is how that overwhelm can really snowball to a place where you're confused, you're tired, you're overdrawn in your emotional and energetic bank account, and therefore overdrawn in your physical bank account.
So interesting, isn't it? And it's so true, where that energy, where, you know, where your focus is, that energy goes and the energy flows. I love that kind of phrase as well. And I think it's such a hard one. You know, a lot of this, the listeners to this podcast are women who are juggling a whole load of stuff, whether it's families, whether it's, you know, different jobs, whether it's a team within their business. And they feel like they're being pulled in lots of different directions, but still wanting to grow and still wanting to scale and still wanting to serve and help and give and all those things that we want to give outwards. But quite often, and this is part of the reason that I wanted to do this podcast, is that we have to look after ourselves as well. We have to notice what's going on around us. And, you know, if we're, one of the phrases that I use is that if we're running at our optimal levels, energy wise, health wise, etc., then our business will as well. And it is that alignment. It's just that equilibrium, as you said, between those 3 different things of your time and you and the money, and, you know, you with that lifestyle side of things. Those boundaries are so important.
They're important. They're absolutely crucial. Wishy-washy boundaries equals wishy-washy bank accounts. Simple as that.
I love that. I think that's going to be the takeout quote, isn't it, today? Amazing. How did you get into this? So we were talking that you had done kind of bookkeeping beforehand. You mentioned that you've always kind of been in the sort of financial world.
Yeah.
Where did that shift come from? Did you just start seeing business owners that you were working with that weren't aligned, or what was that kind of shift?
Essentially, that is what happened. From a very young age, wealth creation and money were a puzzle to me. I could see in my direct family how my mum was a single parent with 3 young children, working 3 jobs on, you know, whatever the welfare state thing was at the time. And her sister and brothers had money. Like my eldest aunt, who we lost a couple of years ago, but at the time, you know, she was an Oxford graduate, and she married a solicitor, and she was one of the first ordained priests in the UK. Like, I saw them as like middle class, and then we had nothing, you know, and it made no sense to me even at the youngest age, because I couldn't understand it. I was like, well, it just can't be right. I just knew it couldn't be right. I had this, my soul, I think, was talking to me even then. And I didn't have an unhappy childhood, but I did feel unhappy, and I felt kind of broken. So I was in counselling and therapy from the age of 11, which back then was quite unusual. And that was what introduced me to like my self-help journey, was trying to fix myself, just being convinced that I was broken, that it wasn't meant to be this way, that I shouldn't be this unhappy. And then I had I had my children, I had my family, and it was still a struggle. You know, money was always a struggle. My mum and my sister both sold their houses because of debt, yet my brother always landed on his feet. There was, you know, and we struggled. We were sort of somewhere in the middle of that. It was like feast and famine for us. And I was still working on myself and developing myself. I'd read tons of books on self-development and stuff like that. And then my husband started his own business. And because he started his own business, somebody needed to do the taxes. And that was me. And I was hooked up with the universe, happily collided me, as I call it, with my accountant, who is still my accountant, who became my mentor then. And I just couldn't stop asking questions about the bookkeeping. It just wasn't enough for me. Well, why does that go there? Why does that go there? What does that mean? And she said to me, you've got a real flair for bookkeeping. Have you thought about taking any exams or anything? And nobody had ever said anything like that to me before. And I kind of was really scared, but my husband was really behind it at the time. And he sold this piece of Majolica ware for about $1,000, I think, and paid for my exams. And I passed all my exams with flying colours, which back then was quite difficult.
Amazing, yeah.
Because there's no software. And then I started getting clients because she helped me get clients and built my business. And all the while I was still doing self-development on the side, and I was still unhappy, and I still didn't know why, and I still didn't have any money, and I still didn't know why. And then I got onto more of a spiritual healing journey because the self-development wasn't working. So then I learned various healing modalities, thinking that was the way to fix myself, which still didn't work because I actually wasn't broken.
Yeah.
I just wasn't broke. You can't fix what's not broken. That's the point. But I was going through this process. Then I discovered universal law. And obviously I was introduced to that via the law of attraction. And I use many of the universal laws in my work. Like law of attraction is a bit like, it's relevant, but not as relevant as a lot of people think. Although it does govern us, it's just not as relevant. It's not a magic spell. It's not a potion. It's just how you're designed to create. So I kind of ground that for people, I hope, in my work, sort of normalize, take the mystery out of the law of attraction, but also the law of circulation and the law of polarity feature heavily in my work. But what was happening back then was I was looking at people's accounts. I was reconciling their accounts. I was doing a bookkeeping, having conversations with them, whatever. And I just knew why they weren't making any money. Their books, as it were just lighting up like Christmas trees.
Amazing.
And at the same time, I was still following my own journey and tweaking things here and tweaking things there. And I was still compartmentalizing though. I mean, I'm a great compartmentalizer. And I was just like, no, keep them separate. That's woo-woo spiritual. People aren't going to understand that in the finance world. They're not going to get it, which I think is one of the reasons why I am very much about grounding things in practical ways that people can understand. I'm able to normalize woo. I'm able to do that. That came naturally because you're going to have to excuse my dog. My husband, I think, has disappeared and he's barking because I think he wants to come in here. But yeah, being able to naturally marry the two parts is one of the gifts that I have, and I think that's one of the reasons why people say nobody does money like you do. That's like that's the part of the work that I try to teach people. Like you can absolutely master your own creational process, absolutely, but I'm able to see the bigger picture. And as yet, I haven't discovered a way to teach that because I think that's part of my personal gift. And we've all got our own personal gift. That's me in alignment, vibrating at the highest frequency.
I mean, it's an amazing journey that you've had, isn't it, really? And I think just bringing all of your experiences, your knowledge or your self-development, that is alignment, isn't it? I think almost and it is a true version of alignment. Everything's kind of come together.
Absolutely. And I think that is because I've had that journey and I've seen it time and time again with clients, with family members, it really is just how human beings are designed. When they step into their gifts, as long as they've got everything going on, as long as they've got, as long as they understand how alignment and conscious creation works, then they're able to step further and further into their gifts. And that is a very natural part of the process, because what's happening there is your soul, which, like, I call it soul. Many people have different names for it, but for me it's soul. It like the infinite part of you that wants to experience its gifts through you. Your soul has certain gifts that it wants to bring to the world, that it wants to experience. It wants to co-create with the universe. And if you allow it to do that, it will, like, new versions of your gift will open up over and over. I mean, literally, my code, I didn't even have any idea that it was happening. It was all so natural. Even when it was in front of me, it was like an aha moment to realize it was actually a thing, that I'd wanted for the longest time and just didn't think was available to me. But I'd been doing it the whole time. I just wasn't available yet at the frequency that showed the solution that was right in front of my eyes. And the code up until about 2 months ago was like twofold. There were like two levels to it, if you like. And I trust that, and I move with that, and I know what it looks like to step into the next version and all of that. I live my work. I kind of have to. But I had no idea that there was another level. And literally that dropped in about 4 weeks ago.
Amazing.
And I caught, like, if you follow the breadcrumbs of alignment, you move the needle of alignment, you follow the breadcrumbs of alignment, there's an element of courage required. There's an element of trust required, but we're designed for that because we're entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
That's what we're designed for. We're designed to take risks.
And I think it's so interesting because it's one of those things that we have that opportunity to run our business in the ways that we want to. You can evolve it as quickly or as slowly as you want to, but it does go back to that, are you feeling fulfilled? And if you're not, then we need to look at where that kind of comes from, how we can get back into that alignment, really that stuff that kind of lights you up, what it is that you get excited about, because that then shows through into your clients, into your audience, and that kind of thing as well. Audience is something that I did want to touch on, because you mentioned it a couple of times of how you're not really out there, that it is actually quite hard to find you.
Yeah, it's
and,
not.
I love the fact that our paths have crossed, because you're not really on social media, and we kind of came together through a mutual connection. And so much of my business, my networks are through connections, and that is a huge part. But it is really interesting. I think you've done so amazingly in building up your business and, a position that you are now, and you aren't on social media. So the people who are listening to this and who have been told many times by loads of different people that you have to be on social media to grow your business, there are so many different marketing tools. There are so many different ways that you can grow your business, and you don't have to rely on social media. And Karen, you are proof of that. So yes. I'd love to kind of hear, how do you, is it down to networking, or is it just, how do you kind of get yourself out there without getting yourself out there, as it were?
Well, it's not networking in terms of, going to networking events or showing up for speed networking online, or I don't do anything like that. As you say, I'm I'm a very private person. I'm a bit of a hermit. I only go on holiday so that I can come home and re-experience my house. Like, literally, this is where I love to be. And social media for me, I was there. I was there. I was only really ever on Facebook. So LinkedIn and Instagram have never been a thing for me. Nor YouTube, but I did run my business. I started my business, I guess, on Facebook in groups, and quickly learned that as much as I don't really enjoy being in groups of people, in the real world, I equally don't really enjoy it online either, which is no big surprise. But I've discovered that, I mean, you mentioned connection. When I connect with somebody, I do nurture those relationships. I have clients that I've worked with for 4 or 5 years that come and go and come and go and come and go. My business, I mean, I got to the point where I knew that I had to come off of Facebook. I had to come off of social media. It had done its job. It had gotten me to where I wanted it to get to. But then I realized that actually, if I continued to be somewhere that wasn't aligned for me, where I didn't want to be, then my income was going to suffer as a result of that, because it's just a translation of energy, right? So I started to open up to the idea of, okay, well, what is my most aligned marketing? Like marketing for me, what does that look like? And as I said, money is a happy byproduct of alignment, and so is everything else you desire. So as long as you're you're self-aware, you've got you understand how conscious creation works, as it were, and you vibrate at that frequency where solutions to perceived problems come in, because you're only at like the solution to a problem is never going to be available at the vibration of the problem, right? So it's all about continuing to trust, to be on the outside edge of your comfort zone 10% of the time, and then and recognizing when the solutions are presented to you, so that you can take a deep breath, put your big girl or big boy pants on and move into that. And as you said, you and I were happily collided. You know, the universe does its part. The universe has, you know, the most infinite, ridiculously infinite organizing capacity and solutions that we as human beings can't even comprehend. We literally can't comprehend. And the universe happily collides me with people all the time. And what that has done for me now is, when I get a potential client find me, because as you say, I'm not that easy to find. I'm not difficult to find, but you kind of need to know, you need to be introduced to me somehow. But the universe happily collides me all the time with people. And I know now, I mean, that is part of my marketing. I actually say to people now, you're having this conversation with me, if they're on like a discovery call, like that kind of connection call, if they're thinking about working with me, it's like, well, you're here for a reason. Yeah. The universe, there aren't any, you know, there are no mistakes. There's no such thing as random. You know, the universe has happily collided us for a reason. And now I just see it as like, if someone's in my orbit, it's because I've got something, either I've got something that they can benefit from, or they've got something that I can benefit from, or the two of us are meant to co-create something new together. I just see it that way. And I trust that, implicitly just trust that. And it's all been shown to me in a very natural way. And everybody's the same, you know, there's nothing special about me. I just know how to explain that to people so they get it. And I know how to follow the needle of, move the needle of alignment by following the breadcrumbs. And it, you know, what happens is you vibrate at that frequency, and money's the byproduct of that. So you just focus on the frequency. And if you're doing, like, the definition of alignment from my perspective is, you do you. You do you. And that's you do you in your relationships, you do you it with, you know, in your business, you do you with your money, you do you. That's the only way that you affect the outside world, is by you focusing on what's aligned for you. Because if it's aligned for you, it's aligned for everybody. And in that way, you vibrate at a higher frequency and you create like a vacuum for other people to step into and fill, because nature abhors a vacuum. So when you're vibrating your highest available, like the highest vibrational frequency that you're currently a match for, you're going to be vibrating money. For entrepreneurs, that's that high vibrational doing, if you like, is their gift. It's serving, it's coaching, it's presenting, it's teaching, it's whatever they got into business for in the first place. Like that thing that lights you up most, that thing that you lose time when you do it, that thing that energizes you when you're really not feeling up to the mustard on any particular day, and you still need to go and do that thing, and you do it and you're like, oh my God, I feel so much better now. Yeah. That's you vibrating at the highest frequency. And so it's about making sure that you spend more time there than you do anywhere else. And there's a formula for that I've sort of created. And when you do that, you are a natural match for money, because you're vibrating that frequency, and money is a byproduct of that. And when you're doing that, that high vibrational frequency, that's what's available to you only when you're doing your gift. That frequency is only available to you when you're doing your gift.
It's fascinating, isn't it? It's amazing. I love it. I find it so interesting, and just, I mean, where I've kind of shifted from over the years has definitely evolved, and it's, you know, getting closer and closer and closer. And it's giving yourself permission, I think, to test things, to try things. And, you know, it's almost what you were saying about the kind of the social media. You tried it, you recognized it wasn't for you, you've pulled away and done something slightly different. And, you know, I share a lot of different kind of marketing techniques and tools with my audience, and there isn't a right answer. You know, the truth is, there isn't a right answer. I can share with you all of the different ways, but the right answer is the one that fits to you, the one that fits most aligned to you, because that, as you say, that's where you're going to get your energy. That's what's going to light you up. That's going to give you your passion, and that's going to lead to the profits. And that's really what we're aiming for when we're running our own businesses.
Absolutely. Yeah. Most of us aren't running charities. We got into business for a reason. Yeah. You know, we talked about freedom at the start. Most entrepreneurs are in love with the idea of being financially free, being free, like time free, financially free, just free. And money allows us to do that.
Yeah. One of the things that we spoke about way before this podcast, I think when we first kind of initially connected, was this idea of, actually, if you're clearing space, then you're creating space for something else to come in. And even just something as simple as, you know, decluttering your office space or paying a bill just creates that energetic exchange space ready for some, you know, money to come back in, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, that's what I was erring towards when I said, as long as you understand how you create and you follow the breadcrumbs of alignment, the new versions of your gift will continually emerge, you know, every 3 to 6 months. But a lot of the reason why people get kind of stuck, if you like, or experience feast and famine, is because they don't understand that we've all got like an energetic bandwidth. We've only got a certain amount of bandwidth available to us, and that gets cluttered up and used up by everything. Like all of our experiences, all of the things that we do during the day and night within our life take up energy. It takes up that bandwidth. And one of the most important things is that we need to let go. We need to let go and move out what is no longer a vibrational match for where we, like, what we have become and definitely where we're going. So for me personally, one of the biggest things that that really allowed like the conscious wealth code to kind of drop for me, the earliest version of the code, as I said to you, back in the day, I learned many healing modalities, and my business, actually, like my spiritual business, if you like, the more spiritual side of my business, really started because I was able to read the Akashic records, and I did Akashic record clearings for people. And that was like the cornerstone, if you like, the foundation, the fabric of the earliest version of my business. Even way back then. And I was doing that work probably for, I don't know exactly how long, but it's probably 3 or 4 years. And I let go of it bit by bit because I just stopped loving it. I stopped enjoying it. I loved it at first, and it got me to a position where people knew who I was and they trusted me, and I was getting great results for people. Got me to a certain point, but then it wasn't what I loved anymore. And that's actually a natural part of the process of an entrepreneur, just a human being really, but I focus on entrepreneurs. And I held on to the Akashic record work for well over a year longer than I should have done. And I know this work. And I knew that what I was doing was misaligned for me. But I just couldn't let it go. And it was too scary to let it go. Every time I mentioned letting it go, it was like everybody in my orbit would scream that it was the worst decision. Like, how can you even... Why would you do that? You're so good at it. Like, how are you going to get clients if you're not doing that? And I was like, I don't know, but it's got to go, because it got to the point where I hated doing it. I didn't mind delivering the results and delivering the information, but the actual rituals and the process of rummaging around behind the scenes, not actually like the part that I needed to do before I spent time with a client, was just, I used to procrastinate on it, and it was heavy, and I'd leave it to the last minute, and it got ridiculous. Well, I let that go eventually. And within 3 months of letting it go, the first version of the wealth code dropped in. Although I didn't know then that was what was happening.
Yeah.
But the records work, the Akashic record work, had been cluttering up my bandwidth, and it had also been holding me in a lower vibration, a previous vibration, somebody who I used to be. And while that's happening, you're not available for the next level. But as I said, it's scary. And, to actually have the courage to let things go that you used to love, or that got you where you are in business and whatever, that used to work. People come to me and say, oh, like, I'm doing this thing, and I'm like, how long have you been doing it? Well, when I started doing it, it made me so much money. But now it doesn't make me any money, and they don't get it and understand that that's actually just a signal. And that signal would have been there for a pretty long time as well. It's just time to move it out so that the new can come in. It's all about vibrational shift.
Yeah. And I think, just a reminder to our listeners as well, that if you are feeling stuck, then delve into that. Like, don't be afraid to kind of delve into what those little areas of your business might be, draining your energy, or you're starting to resent, because that's a real clear sign, isn't it, that something is not working or something needs to go. That's something that I've been doing quite recently, of just really making some quite big decisions on the direction of my business and the way that I'm doing things. And this year is definitely, full year has been kind of quite an evolving kind of 12 months for me, which is exciting. But as you say, it can feel quite scary when you're shifting things, or if something felt aligned a few years ago and now it doesn't, because we're always on a journey, aren't we? We're always evolving, we're always learning more, and that's okay. That's exciting. It's part of running your own business.
Well, it is, because unless you go through that process, like every time you do something like that, you're embodying a new vibrational shift. And what that means is that you are becoming available to vibrate at a higher frequency. And when you're available to vibrate at a higher frequency, that translates into more money. That's how it works. I mean, and you mentioned resentment. As I said, that's one of my not so fab four, the dysfunctional family of alignment, if you will, is resentment. And if you're doing resentment, if you're doing things in your business and you resent doing them, the universe just says yes. That's the law of attraction. The law of attraction in its simplest form is like attracts like. And I translate that as the universe says yes. So if you're doing a vibrational frequency of resentment, the universe just assumes that you enjoy doing resentment, and it will bring you more things you can be resentful about, more resentment that you can do. And resentment is not a vibrational match for money, because resentment vibrates at a frequency of you're less than, I don't deserve, I have to do things that I don't want to do. And that is what I call choosing a less than experience. And money represents value. Like, we human beings created money so that we could exchange it for that which we value. If you're choosing a less than experience by doing things in your business or your life that you resent doing, that's a choice. The universe says yes to the choice and brings you more opportunities to be resentful. But it's not a vibrational match for money, because what you're actually doing is choosing a less than experience, which translates as, I don't value myself. I don't value myself. I don't value my time. I don't value my relationships enough to hold a vibrational frequency where others can step into their power. It's a complete misalignment to money. And if you imagine like an energetic scale where you've got money on one end vibrating at a frequency of your gift, and then you've got resentment at the other end when you feel contracted and heavy. And it's one thing I do want to tell the listeners, which is vitally important to my work and how I support people and what I teach people, is it's not then about identifying the things that you resent doing and then getting all happy thought and doing them anyway. That does not work. You cannot change your outcomes. You cannot affect physicality by changing turning resentment into a happy thought and then carrying on doing what you resent, because what you're doing there is you're trying to bypass universal law. The universe reads the authentic frequency. You can't happy thought think your way out of things that you don't like doing. You have to stop doing them. You have to find ways to, like, if you're doing things in your business or your life that you don't like doing, you either have to stop doing them, delegate them, streamline them, or automate. Stop, delegate, streamline, automate. You have to move them out of your experience. Going and getting in a happy place and la-ing while you're writing an email for the umpteenth time that you don't really want to write does not change your reality. The choices that you've made up until this very moment that you're listening to this broadcast, the choices that you've made are what have created the consequences that you have in your life right now. And if they're not what you want, there's misalignment there. Happy thought thinking isn't going to change that. Essentially, we're all living in the past because we're living a consequence of previous choices. You must change who you are and what you're doing to vibrate at a higher frequency, because money's a byproduct of that. And the universe can only say yes. And it will say yes. When you say yes to you, it will say yes to you. It has no choice. But it will also say yes to resentment, obligation, sacrifice, guilt. And they are the most toxic energies that you can choose as a human being, let alone a business owner.
I just find it so fascinating. I feel like we could just carry on talking all day on this. But you've given some really, really great tips there for, if people are starting to feel those things of, stopping them or automating them or delegating them, just clear it through. It's such an important piece to do, I think, and to really recognize that and then take action on it. We talked about the fact that you are hard to find. Where can people find you if they are wanting to continue this conversation with you?
Well, I'm easy to find when you know where I am. So I do have a website, which is www.soulwhispers, all one word, soulwhispers.uk. There's no co in there, by the way, for all the... that's really important because I don't know where that takes you. It's not me. And I invite anybody to come and find me on Messenger. I mean, I am not a lover of Facebook. I do have a business page, and I tend to promote other people and other things on there. I'm not really available there, but Facebook Messenger it's still my platform where I like to connect with people. It's still my favourite place in terms of connection at the moment. And I'm also a core contributor to a magazine called The House of Preeminence. House of Preeminence has got its own Facebook group where I've actually I'm just rounding up doing a money alignment quest where I introduce people to the not so fab for dysfunctional family of money and alignment that I've talked about already. I went through a 5-6 week process where I introduced everyone to each one of those members and how they show up in business and what people can do about them. And that's over in the Preeminence Rising Facebook group. So when you know where to find... There's a few
places people can find you.
When you know where I am, then you can find me. The Preeminence Rising has just been sort of relaunched, and the work that I'm doing there is very, very close to my heart. And so I've just was yanked out of hiding, if you like, to come and do this little quest, and I've actually really enjoyed it. But I encourage people today. I've got a money alignment quiz. There's a money alignment assessment available on my website, and people can do that and get my direct feedback. As I say, these assessments, they're not unlike what it used to be when I was a bookkeeper. They just light up like Christmas trees. So I can have a quick look and tell anybody 2 or 3 things that they can do. And then that way, hopefully they'll be on my email list where I share regular content, and that's where I nurture my people. And I've got some exciting things happening next year. Where I'm going to be focusing much more on that nurturing vehicle as well, directly with my folks. So I'd love to invite anybody over there.
Amazing. Oh, Karen, it's been such a pleasure to chat to you as always. And go and check her out. She is amazing at what she does. So as hopefully you've had a little taster today. So Karen, thank you once again. Hope you guys have enjoyed listening to us on the Healthy Business Podcast, and I will see you on the next episode.
Thank you, Sarah. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Healthy Business Podcast. To get your free checklist with 1-minute hacks to accelerate your business and find out more about our community, head to my website, sarahcookmarketing.com/healthy business.